Yeah, it's a good question. So we talked a lot about that as we started going through the process. And we want there to be some subtle ties to the Vikings, but we don't want it to be, it's certainly not going to be Vikings Esports or anything like that. The way we look at it, we want it to be if you're a Vikings fan and you're a Call of Duty fan and you want to see the connection, there'll be some subtle connections. You'll find them, you can feel good about them. But if you're not a Vikings fan, if you're not an NFL fan, if you're a fan of another NFL team, the connection won't be so in your face that you can't feel good about supporting the new team. So we think we found a good balance on there, but we're still finalizing the branding and still working through it. Midnite landed on our radar. Obviously, she's been a staple in the scene. From Minnesota, has a huge social media following, and so she was on our radar for those reasons. But once we got the chance to sit down with Ashley and really learn what she's about as a person, we got even more excited about working with her. And truly, if she had 0 social media followers, we would have been excited to bring her in and help us get the organization off the ground. And she'll be doing a variety of things for us. Really, she'll be working with us on everything you can imagine, as right now we're a pretty small team. So she'll be really a part of building the organization from the ground up. Everything from, obviously content's her wheelhouse, so certainly tapping into that experience, but also helping us, with how we want to build the brand, how we want to roll the brand out to fans, and she'll be a big part of the player acquisition process as well as that rolls out over the next couple of weeks. The Will family, long before I was on board, has been evaluating different opportunities in esports, and it was never important to them to be the first ones in. They wanted to wait until they found the right opportunity at the right time. It was really a couple different factors. Number one, just watching the franchise model, how it's evolved and matured a bit over the last couple of years. Certainly looking at the success of OWL and how Activision Blizzard has built that up, gave us a lot of faith that that this was the right opportunity at the right time to jump in and get involved. Yeah, there's nothing specific at the moment. The intention is definitely over time to get into other games, other titles, but we're going to take our time with it. Want to make sure we get Call of Duty right to start. Really want to make sure we nail this, get this off the ground in the right way. But as other opportunities come up, we're certainly going to evaluate them. But truly, don't know if that's something that will be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. It's really just a matter of when it feels right and when the right opportunity presents itself. Yeah, I think it's great for us and it's great for our region. So being Minnesota based, it's an area that hasn't had big esports events, hasn't had a CWL event anywhere near it. So if you're a Call of Duty fan in Minnesota, I think the fans there are just so excited to have something coming to the area that they've really embraced us even from the start. I think that puts us in a unique position. I think certainly it, our job is easier than I think a team that's coming into a market where you've had the events prior, or you have teams that are based there. For us, it's kind of a blank slate where no Minnesota-based teams, no big esports events in Minnesota. So we're really just building it from the ground up. And so far we've gotten great response on social media. Really, a lot of fans that seem really excited about it coming to the state. And the way we're looking at it too is, if you're a fan of one of the existing teams, whether they're making the transition or not, we're not going to ask fans in Minnesota to give up those loyalties, right? If they're an Optic fan, they can go on being an Optic fan. If they're a 100 Thieves fan, they can go on being a 100 Thieves fan. We hope that there's room in their heart for multiple teams, for our team as well. And we'll see what happens when we actually play each other, and hopefully they'll be rooting for Minnesota. But we're excited to bring esports to Minnesota and to make a name for it there. Yeah, I think everyone's got to go about it their own way, right? And you've got a lot of great groups coming into the league. You've got some, everyone's doing it differently. You've got some existing teams that are making the transition. Some new teams. We're the only team that's been announced currently that isn't an OWL, so that's certainly unique for us. I think what'll probably stand us apart, similar to the last question, first team in the Midwest. I truly don't know if there's going to be other teams that'll be in that same geographic region, but certainly first in that immediate area around us. So I think that'll set us apart. We really don't spend a lot of time worrying about how we need to differentiate ourselves from other teams in, whether it's in the old system or the new system. We want to put together an organization and a team that the fans in Minnesota and the surrounding region too, we'll reach out into the surrounding states as well, but that an organization and a team that the fans can be proud of, and trying to understand what's important to the fans, what they want to see in these events. Obviously a great template with the C2L events. I mean, this is an amazing setup here, for champs, and if we can replicate some of what's good about this, put our own, bring a little bit of our own flair to it, we think we can create something pretty cool. Yeah, so we're extremely excited to have Gary as part of the ownership group. It's interesting. He actually has a long relationship with the Wilf family that goes back, I think, before the general public knew who either Gary V was or knew really who the Wilfs were before they bought the Vikings. And so they have a long-standing relationship, and I certainly don't want to speak for Gary, but I think both groups had kind of said that when the right opportunity to work together came along, that was something they wanted to pursue. And I mean, for us, it's amazing to have Gary on board. What he brings, his expertise in the digital marketing space, the social media space, excuse me, is amazing. And that's a lot of what we'll lean on as we build up our marketing plans for the organization. And personally, I've consumed a lot of his content, and I love his philosophy on things. So really excited to have his vision help shape how we build our fan base.